So I live in Florida, where the relative humidity is quite high, and my garage is barely air conditioned, and so you'll get a little bit of surface rusting happening on things. That one's not too bad. This guy's stainless steel, so it's pretty good, except right in there and on the inside of here there's just a little bit of surface rusting. Some of these are worse, so here there's a little bit of rust and scale there. So all these guys just have a little bit of rust on them. I don't know how well it's showing up in the video on the rust colored background, but I'm going to take all of these guys, since I have the Evapo-Rust out. I'm working on some wheelbarrow parts. I'm going to, that one there is especially rusty. I'm going to dap these guys in, leave them for an hour or so, and see what happens, show you kind of demo Evapo-Rust here. So I don't know how Evapo-Rust does on rubber. I think it's relatively safe, but just to be safe, I'm going to put most of these so the rubber parts aren't really in there. And a couple of them aren't all the way submerged, so that'll give us a a line through it to kind of see where it's submerged and where it's not, if there's any difference there. And we're going to let these sit for an hour, maybe 2 hours, and then come back and check them. Alright, I pulled these guys out of the Evapo-Rust after a couple of hours, and it seems to have definitely gotten rid of a lot of the surface rust. Some of them have been darkened a little bit. So here you might be able to see there's a line right there, and above that line they are dark, and below the line they have some rust. So I'm not sure if that's a permanent darkening, but it does appear to have gotten the rust off of that area, so that's pretty good. Remember, this guy here has a pretty decent amount of rust, and it's definitely darker there. Have to let them dry out a little bit, see what they look like when they're dry. Here, yeah, you can definitely see the line. There's above and below the line. It looks like there might still be a little rust on that side of the line, and then here there's a lot of rust. So I think I'll throw them back in for a little longer. None of the rubber that has been exposed seems to be any the worse for wear, so I'll throw it in a little bit longer. Alright, these guys got a couple hours of Evapo-Rust, and then I rinsed them off and I sprayed them with WD-40, so if they look a little shiny, that's the WD-40. So you can see that there's definite discoloration still, but the actual rust iron oxide kind of orange-yellow color is gone. And here's the stainless steel ones. They had a little bit of rust on the inside and down in there. It looks like I maybe could have done a little longer if I cared about the inside there, but this looks a lot better. So this guy had a decent amount of rust on it, and now it's just WD-40 oily. It's definitely darker, so the Evapo-Rust process was making things darker. I haven't tried to buff or polish any of these guys, so I don't know if that darkness would come off or not, but the rust is mostly removed off of the surface. A little WD-40 on top might keep it away for a couple of months. So that's what you get with Evapo-Rust. This one here, you can definitely see some pooling effects where there were some drips on it. I think it was a little above the water or the Evapo-Rust at some point. And so, got some dark areas and some lighter areas. So maybe if I hit it with a wire brush or something, some of that would go away. But, the rust is gone. That's the important thing here. Alright, I hit all these parts with Evapo-Rust, and some of my tools I had sitting around that had gotten a little bit of rust since I had the Evapo-Rust out, and it did a pretty good job. I mean, there's some places, where there's still rust visible, but on the little nuts here, it's pretty much gone if I left it in long enough, and these guys here are looking a lot better than they did before. So here, it's basically got it down to metal. There's still metal showing through that paint, but it's not rusty metal. And kind of the same things here is all these places where there was metal, now it's basically just metal without the rust. So I think it was worthwhile sticking it in since I had all the parts off.